Anyways, back at it. I don't know, you know, you live and you learn. And I don't know, I feel bitter because I know realistically there is not a life where Zach and I work out, because he has bills and he has problems that I will never, and he has, you know, he smokes and he has the substance abuse that I have never dealt with. But sometimes it is fun to imagine what could be. And I could never tell my friends about it. I mean, I think 2 people know about what's going on. And you can, because, you know, it's frightening. It's scary because he has everything that I have not wanted in somebody. You know, he does drugs. He is older than me. He's sloppy and his hair's never combed, and, you know, he's broke, and yet he is the one that I've found the most sanctuary in, which is so weird because since I've been like 13, I have planned out my life and I have known exactly who I was going to be and how I was going to become it, and every single trail along the way. And, you know, I freak out when my bike ventures off the path because now my life is over, and, you know, he just rides the bike. He just rides the bike. So, I don't know, you know. And, you know, we go days without talking, and then, but yet every time we come back, every time. And it's just this, like, silence of knowing. And then when he first told me, I'm in North Carolina right now, but it was literally, like, nights ago, and I'm sitting, and he's like, because he would always say, it's like, you can tell me anything. Like, I know, looking back, that he knew that I felt this way about him. And I think he was too afraid to tell me that he felt that way too, because to him, if I said no, it's on him, you know, he's this older guy, and he's likes the 17-year-old, like, what? But it's like, no, like, I've been here, like, I thought you knew! But sometimes they don't. You know, so when he told me, he's like, why do you do that? And I was like, do what? And he's like, every time, you know, I ask you why you say something, and you always say, I don't know. And I ask you why, and you say, you don't know. But I know you know. Because I did know, I just didn't want to tell him. So, I was like, you know. And then one time this is how it started. We were texting, and I don't even know what, I said something stupid, and then he thought it was funny, and I was like, yeah, no, I feel like I tell you so much, and I don't know why. And he was like, you do know why. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I do. And he was like, well, why? And I was like, because, I don't know. I just think you're easy to talk to. And whatnot, and that's what. And he was like, well, why do you think you can't tell me things? Like, why do you always stop? Like, you get so involved and then you just stop. Why? And I was like, well, mind you, ripped off the Band-Aid. Like, I don't know how I got the courage to do that. But I was like, I think about you differently than how you... I think I see you differently than how you see me. And that's what I said. And he was like, can we call? And I was like, fuck! Like, there it goes. Like, burn the bridge. Like, he's probably like, this random little girl from my job is fucking fangirling over me. Like, what the hell? No. He called me, and he was like, what does that mean? And I was like, I think I have a lot of respect for you, and yeah, and I just think you look at me a little differently than I look at you. And he was like, what does that mean, Kylie? And I was like, I don't know what that means, because I don't know what we are. I didn't say that, obviously, but I thought it. And then we just did this back and forth of what? Like, and confused and just randomness. And then finally he was like, okay, I think you like me more than like a friend would. And I'm telling you, I do. I've told you since the beginning, and I just I never knew, because you made it so unclear, and I wanted to tell you, and I knew I couldn't tell you, and it had to be you, or I would never say anything about it. And I was like, what? Like, that's all I wanted to hear, and yet the last thing I wanted to hear, because now everything gets complicated, everything gets complicated. People are like, what do you mean? How does that get complicated? It gets complicated because, there's no way I can go home and tell my parents, yeah, I like this drug addict, and he also has his own apartment, and he's not in high school, and he graduated, and he's not going to college, and he works the same job I do, and he's going into cybersecurity, but I'm so happy with him, and he brings out the side of me that no one else has, and I've genuinely felt like I've met my match, and I'm good. And then they kick me out and be like, what the heck, you psycho? And then I'm forbidden from seeing him like fucking Romeo and Juliet. So that's me. That's my life. And I guess that's the beauty of it all, because love will always prevail and life will always prevail. But I feel like right now that I can't, because the one person I want I cannot have, even though he's here. Like, he's right here, and I have to let him go, So no one's gonna see this, so I feel like I'm being really vulnerable. It's just, it's hard, like, that's it, that's all you want. You want this fairy tale, Prince Charming a little bit. I think I've always wanted that, but it's just really not that. Like, I think the best kind of relationships, they have to be rugged a little bit, and they have to have the sharp edges in order for them to work. But then it doesn't work, and it just sucks, because I finally met someone that I felt like I get it, I'm in high school, but it's like, you don't, like, I just also feel like people always say that, like, oh, you'll find someone later in life, but it's like, but what if I found him now and I can't even try? I can't even give it a shot and see if maybe this person is my forever, because I can't. So I just have to live my life moved on, because there is no world where we ever work out fully, and I cannot put him or me in that emotional stress. And we're sitting on the phone, and he's like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I can't make that decision entirely. Like, this is something that affects both of us, and it affects us big. And he was like, I know. And I just think we've been sitting in this stump of what and how and why, and fear a little bit, because I know that there is no life where we make sense. That, my parents have set me up for this train to success, and if I go with him, everything changes, and it's not guaranteed that I'm happy. But with the life that I'm on, I know I'm guaranteed happy. So it's like, do you live for the thrill, or do you live for the love and for the security, or like, because like, he's this thrill, but I have to go for safety. And yet the person I feel safest with is the person who would ruin my fucking life. So that's my can of worms. That's my 2 cents. I'm gonna post sometime again. But yeah, I don't know. If anyone else finds himself in a pickle like this, hit me up. I want to talk about it. That's all I have to say about that. Goodbye.